and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. This episode we have Netflix 207th film from 2020, the psychological drama Horse Girl, directed by Jeff Baena. It stars Alison Brie, Debby Ryan, John Reynolds, Molly Shannon, John Ortiz, and Paul Reiser. I'm Jesse, and I'm here with MJ. How are you?
I'm good. You can tell we're still freshly into the 200s. It is for 100 episodes you started with. We are having the 100 and something. We're just fresh at the 200, so you haven't quite moved on yet.
Nah, and you can tell that I wasn't reading that one from the sheet. I was just doing it off the top of my head.
Oh, you've done it. You've done it about 207 times. So
yeah, big stuff up for me. But we have an interesting film to chat about today. I'm quite intrigued to see where this chat goes and how it's discussed. But we do start with our fast flicks, our quick summary of what the film's about. What's Horse Girl about for you?
I'm going to do a spoiler alert now. My fast flicks doesn't spoil it, but I know what I've been thinking about this film. I'm going to spoil this so quickly, so I'm worried that I'm just going to jump into it accidentally. So if you haven't seen Horse Girl, we do intend on spoiling it in this chat. So if you wanted to watch it without it being spoiled, turn us off now. Go watch it. Come back and listen to us. And it's definitely one of those films that you want to have a chat about. So definitely come back and hear what these two idiots have to say. My fast flicks for Horse Girl is a tough one to write, actually. I've just gone with Horse Girl follows Sarah, who has a family history of mental illness as she starts to lose her grip on reality.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. I also found it hard. I've gone similar lines. I've just said a socially awkward girl descends into a world of her own.
That too. There's a bit happening in this film, and I know both of us kind of touched on that side of it, and there's even a little bit more to it. So that's kind of there's just a lot here.
There is, and we will talk about it soon. But we're gonna first talk about what could you discover about how this film ended up on Netflix. How did it come about?
Yeah, well, Alison Brie, and who is a star of the film, plays the aforementioned Sarah that I mentioned in my fast flicks, along with Jeff Baena, who's the director, basically came together to write this screenplay. Alison Brie's first venture into the world of screenwriting. We know Alison Brie as an actress has been on a bunch of things before. Her first venture into screenwriting. These two had actually worked together on other projects. They kind of had these two ideas for a movie that they discovered were basically complementary and kind of had the crux of a story if they got put together. And I think Alison Brie kind of outlined her family history with mental illness and her grandmother's paranoid schizophrenia and how she kind of thought it would be something worthwhile to investigate and create a movie around a character who's going through something similar, but then also experiencing things that are potentially supernatural or science fiction-y, and she kind of has difficulty discerning what's real and what's not. And then the director, Jeff Baena, has this idea of this woman who'd grown up around horses and kind of sort of lost all that when she was in her late teens, and how that there was a trauma there that sort of played out over time, and realized that maybe if we put this story and the original story together, we've got a story of one. And that's kind of, that's a movie we just watched. So it's interesting how they sort of just came up together. I think they were going for a hike together and just started chatting about it. And before you know it, we watched it on Netflix. So it was June 2019 when they officially announced this film. The Duplass brothers were the executive producers of the film. Jay Duplass is in the film as well, and Netflix on board from the get-go as a distributor. The whole movie in production, from what I can gather, and this was quite interesting, is it was more or less improvised from a dialogue perspective. So they kind of have this detailed outline, and it's developed to a point where there isn't a lot of room to narratively change anything. And the majority of the dialogue is kind of beaten out. But once they sort of start filming it, that's when they sort of decided what exactly they're going to say and how it's going to flow. They don't expressively state that in the screenplay, which is quite interesting and something from what I can gather, Jeff Baena likes to do in his projects in general. And once they sort of run through it a few times, he's kind of like, all right, let's lock that in. That's what we're going to say, which is kind of a cool way to make a film. So they filmed it, had its world premiere at Sundance Film Festival. I think Jeff Baena's 4 from 4 with his first 4 films all ended up at Sundance, which is a pretty good get. January 27, 2020 was when that premiered at Sundance, and then it was released on Netflix. What's that? A week and a bit later on February 7 worldwide, and that's how we got to see it.
Good. Yep. Only other things that I have to add. So it's filmed in and around LA from 17th of June 2019 to the 24th of July. So a bit over a month of filming. It was nominated for 2 awards. It won 1. I don't know if this is quite an award or more a top list, but it was put on the top 100 most popular narrative and animated feature awards at the Reframe Awards. So it was nominated, or won that, it says, and then it was nominated at the Women's Image Network Awards for Outstanding Feature Film as well. So interesting couple. We've heard of Reframe before. Can't remember when, but I know we've definitely seen some Netflix films on there before. Only other things that I'll add, I guess, are there was no tagline that I could see for this film. The translations, there's some good translations for this one around the world.
Well, this is a weird title, so I'm hoping for some good translations.
So across the Spanish-speaking part of the world, it's called The Girl Who Loved Horses. So it's very, very tiny. Doesn't really fit completely with the whole movie. These ones start to get a little bit better. There's 2 more. So in Brazil, it was called Between Realities. Maybe that's a bit of a spoiler, possibly.
Yeah, true.
And then in Taiwan, it was called Favorite Horse Monster Woman, which I don't mind.
Of course, of course.
The horse. I'd be thinking I'm going into some movie about some woman who's a horse monster.
I would like to watch that movie. You're right. I'm curious by that movie. If that's even if that's the synopsis of the movie, I don't even care. I'm keen.
Yeah. Let's talk about the consensus for this one. What are critics and audiences saying?
So IMDb is a 5.9 out of 10 off 18,000 ratings. And Letterboxd is basically exactly the same. It's 2.9 out of 5. This one's got 43,000 ratings. So a hell of a lot more people on Letterboxd have rated it, which, as a Sundance film doesn't surprise me. I would say that is probably sitting just under par, maybe par, whatever you want to call it. But it's not lighting the world on fire.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, this is fresh. Of 58 reviews, it's at 71%. So nice. Again, very similar to what we're looking at. And the audience, however, had it quite a bit lower, down to 47%. That's on more than 500 ratings. So audience is not so much a fan of this one. And you can probably understand reasons why, which I'm sure we're going to get into now as we head into our early thoughts for this film.
Yeah, I can't wait to chat through this with you, and I have no idea about. I'm going to find out shortly, but I like this. I think I really, really liked it. And I have to say from the start, as a rule, up until now, I've never liked Alison Brie. There's been something about her. I've never liked her in anything she's done. Whether it's the character she's, I don't know. Whether it's the way she looks, I don't know. But I've never liked Alison Brie. But I thought she was excellent in this, in what's a really multifaceted sort of role. I like in this film. I like the exploration of mental illness, and how people basically outside of your own mental illness, they're just so poorly equipped to deal with it. She's a great reflection of reality. I enjoyed the blurred lines of reality and the hallucinations, and it just kept my mind ticking into trying to discover what's actually happening and what's going to happen next, and then trying to piece it all together. I think it's really plausible, and bear with me here, I think it's really plausible that this alien time traveling component really does exist, and I think I'm okay with it, and it works. There were parts of the movie that felt a little bit incomplete and brushed aside a little bit, but as a rule, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your sentiment. I think the performance from Bree's great. I was intrigued the whole way through, which I think is a real positive. And I think a part of that was the compassion and the care that I felt for Sarah from the get-go, which I think it's something to admire through the performance and the writing, I guess. If you write a character, you're going to perform that character an awful lot better, I guess. And I think, like you said too, that the idea of mental illness, it's such an important issue. And I'm not 100% sure they actually make like meaningful commentary on it, but I think they do a good job of allowing the audience to step into the shoes of how it must feel at times, because I definitely got that feeling of confusion and unease and, not knowing exactly what's going on. So I appreciated that as well.
Yeah, you wanted to scream at some of the characters to be like, say this, do that. Like, look at these signs.
Yeah. So let's talk about some characters. I I reckon there's probably three main ones that we're going to discuss that sort of stick out to me the most, because the rest are all really side parts of her adventure.
Yeah, well,
But
this is massively a character study of Sarah, and really, where do we? She's really kind of happy and comfortable in her own little bubble when we meet her, and it's the pressures and expectation of fulfilling the societal norms of spiral, or if you believe the alien side of the story, it kind of coincides with her little trips to the spaceship. But either way, the commentary around mental health is really important in deciphering this character. And I think the other key component, which you touched on before, is how real it all seems for her, and her ability to rationalize it. So she really, really believes this stuff is happening to her. She's aware that it's pretty ridiculous and her claims are going to be laughed at. So she's very careful about how she goes about it. But when she sees an opening, she will explain it and she will justify it, and she'll get excited that she can do that. But it's a tragic character arc in so many ways, because she's a mentally unwell person who will have a lot of trouble functioning in society, but somehow seems to have fallen through the cracks enough to make sure she's not going to get the help that she needs, even though as an audience you're watching her knowing that she needs it. Or the other side is she's on this constant time loop back into the past to become her grandma and go through this harrowing cycle again. Either way you look at it, it's very tragic.
Yes, and that's a part of it. I think you can't help but feel sadness for Sarah at times. I like the setup of her having these very specific hobbies or interests too, like the idea of horses, arts, craft, and this crime television show. These all interconnect so well in telling her story. And you've touched on this too, but the idea of the awkward struggles for her to share any life experiences with anyone that she associates with. She doesn't really have her own identity, and the lack of this almost pushes her to connect with her grandmother and parts her mother too, and to feel like that maybe she is them as well. Even if you don't believe the alien side of things, that still can be a true part of her as a character too. Which is, it's I felt bad for this character the whole way through, and just wanted some help for her. And I like that when you spoke about falling through the cracks a little bit too, because realistically she's got no parents. The stepdad just wants to give her cash and fob her off, and apart from that, her housemate doesn't seem to care. She's got one constant which cares about her, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a sec.
Well, yeah, that's obviously Joan, played by Molly Shannon, and this is kind of a hard one too, because I see Joan is a friend of Sarah, and arguably a good friend, but still probably not close enough to truly understand her. Not that you can ever really put yourself in someone's shoes in this sense, but at least I found her a form of comfort for me when I was watching. Like when Joan was around, I was like, oh, thank God Joan's here. But yeah, but I also don't think that she could have done much more to help her. She obviously looks after her when she has that big incident, and then calls the whoever it was to come and take her. But you also feel like these two don't really interact outside of work, which makes you think that this is the closest person. Joan's very well aware that she probably is one of her closest friends, but I wouldn't think that it's a reciprocated friendship. Like, I don't think Joan's, inviting Sarah to her intimate friends' dinners and things like that. But she understands that she kind of needs her. But it's kind of still a little bit sad that she just doesn't have anyone who is closer, apart from a really nice coworker.
Yeah, and I reckon you can almost see that at times. You've probably got really close people that you work with, that you spend most of your days with, and you talk your whole life through. But at the end of the day, you work with them, so you don't really want to socialize all the time outside of work with them too, because it's almost like you're socializing with work, and you need that break from things. So at times I could, but at the same time, like that sweetness that she did show, or that character of Joan, to me, it just seemed like part of Joan enjoying going to work, and the part of that distraction of that passion with the arts and the craft and things like that was also that she knew that there was someone there that she could talk to, and was a constant in her life, almost someone that was she knew when she rocked up to work at those times and worked those hours, Joan was always going to be there. And it wasn't going to be someone that was going to let her down or get frustrated at her for being who she is. Joan was going to understand and try and help, and that's a positive for her.
Yep. No, it's a good point too.
Darren, we talk about Darren?
Big dazzler. Another pretty likable character for me. He kind of goes through all this normal meet cute stuff, you know. He's really in his own head, and not in a bad way, but in a way that he can't truly see Sarah for who she is until it's gone too far. I mean, he's meeting this girl for the first time. He's attracted to her. He's listening to her. He's saying the right things. Everything's going well, and you get it all. You get it all. We know as an audience that there's more to her, and you know this is this is going to spiral. But he handles all of these situations as most people would, and that makes him really relatable, which is why I think this character worked. Um, because he was nothing but nice to her in all kinds of ways. Even when she flipped her lid, he was still kind of trying to go about it the right way. Just a fascinating character to just pop into this world.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. I think to finish off what you were saying, like at that cemetery, everyone else would probably be like, "Yeah, I'm just getting out of here straight away." But you know, he's even just like, "It's okay. I'm not going to leave you in a cemetery here by yourself. Let's go somewhere else." And then she completely is like, "Okay, fine, I've got to go." But he gives her enough chances. Like the decency that he shows made him a character that you liked, because he did the right things and he seemed to actually show a bit of care. And it was nice to see those meet cutes from the other side of thing with the guy sort of chasing from the other point of view too. So that was cool. Yeah. Are there any other?
I've also got Nikki, who is the housemate, and more just to she was just the perfect highlight for people who don't understand what people are going through. So she doesn't understand Sarah at all. And whilst you could argue that she does make this effort to bring her out of her shell, she's really just doing it for herself. She's doing something that she would like that helps Sarah fit into a box that works for her. And everybody does this. Everyone, you know, uses the word weird or this person's different or whatever it is because they're not fitting into the box that you think they should fit in. So Nikki's doing all she can to fit her into that box. But she's never actually trying to understand her. And for most of the film, Sarah's just a really big inconvenience to Nikki, and she hasn't got the compassion or empathy to deal with that. And as much as it seems like she's really cold for most of these moments, I'm sure it's a reality for so many people who are in this position that people who just don't get them just don't want to borrow them, and they just keep getting in their way. And rather than trying to find out, you know, what might help and what might work, they just go about it the wrong way.
And we've also got to remember that this film is from Sarah's point of view. So we're seeing Nikki's actions through Sarah's point of view at times too. So who actually knows through her warped realities at times how these communications are actually going, and whether that the introduction from Darren actually went how it went. Like, is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows if that's actually how the setup happened?
I was waiting for that kind of stuff too. You know, when she lost the car, I was like, "Oh, who is this guy I've never met?" I don't know. But I mean, what you're saying is true and fair. I get that as well. And I don't think like Sarah's a tough hang. Don't get me wrong. Like if I'm living with her and I come home and she's ripping up all the pipes and she's doing a bloody seance in the living room, like fair enough. I've got issues. There's got to be a point where you're like, maybe she needs help. That's not me yelling at her.
Yeah. I haven't got any other characters.
Nah, I think we've covered the crux of them.
So Jeff Baena, the director, I thought it was like you mentioned before. This was his fourth sort of feature that's gone to Sundance after, was it Life After Beth, Joshy, and The Little Hours. I remember when Joshy came out. The other two not so much. I just thought it was interesting. These latest one that's come out this year, Spin Me Round, only came out a couple of weeks ago. Which he also wrote and stars Alison Brie as well. Wrote with her too.
Yeah, I think this is Alison Brie's third. She's done 3 writing gigs after this one, so clearly it's a bit of a passion point for her, and clearly her and Jeff Baena forming a bit of a partnership.
Good. All right, let's talk about some scenes. I haven't had a film in a long time where I've struggled to actually identify specific things that I enjoyed or didn't like. It would just sort of flowed. So I'm interested to hear what you stood out for yourself.
I'm exactly the same, Jesse. I don't take that many notes when I watch, but I do if there's a scene that I particularly like or dislike, I just quickly write a note on my phone as I'm watching it. But this one, the movie kind of ended, and I was like, oh, like I kind of forgot to. Like, I think I was just so intrigued. There's so much of this film you don't know where it's going, and it can go in so many different ways, and you were expecting one thing and another thing happens, and I think that just kept me so engaged the whole time that I wasn't thinking about whether I was enjoying it or not, which is nice. But I did particularly like when she first, I guess we call it sleepwalking, but in the middle of the night, and she's just standing there facing the wall. But I think it was the moment when Nikki's boyfriend just goes
Brian.
like, Sarah, and she just like turns around and is like, sorry, and just walks away. And I'm like, this is interesting. There's something kind of cool going on here. And to that note, actually, no, I'm going to go chronological. The scene with the ear, nose, and throat doctor, and this is one I put in retrospectively. This is one of the scenes where I was like really hoping he was going to do a little bit more. I don't think he did much wrong. Don't get me wrong, but I was really hoping he would have handled the situation a little bit better, because she sort of starts saying things and he kind of plays it off like, well, this is obviously not my level of expertise, but and then she goes even further and he clicks that like, okay, this girl needs help. And I just wish he had been a bit less clinical about it. Tried to sort of listen to her and then sort of say, hey, someone actually you might be able to talk to. It kind of frustrated me, which is why I liked it as well. Because I was just screaming at him to be like, oh, please put me in your shoes for a second. I just want to try this. So that was good. But then, oh man, when the cemetery scene, well, basically the lead up to the cemetery scene, basically the point where Darren realizes that she's batshit crazy. Initially, when they pull up at, is it Ron's house? And then they go to the cemetery. But then I love seeing Sarah get so animated by this. And on the flip side, Darren at the exact same time is getting more and more creeped out.
Like, sure, he's going to go home.
Just, but just highlighted by the music at the cemetery. Like it got really, like it was almost from a horror film, this realization. Then I started to fear for Darren a little bit because I knew she had like scissors in her hand. And I was like, I didn't know where that scene was going to go. And that's always one of my favorite things when watching a movie, when you're just completely dumbfounded with where it's going to go. That was a cracker. And the final one I'll mention is when she does meet with the social worker. I think it's Ethan. For the first time, I just thought the whole situation was actually handled quite well. But obviously, we got that insight into her family, which we needed. So I really wanted to hear that backstory. I thought he handled it much better than the ear, nose, and throat doctor, which put me at ease a little bit. But it slowly started to put more pieces of the puzzle together, because this was a puzzle that I was continuously trying to put together throughout its entirety.
Cool. Yeah, I got a couple of different things. There was like the scene when they were sort of, the two couples were having that party, the introduction between Darren and Sarah, and Brian, who was Nikki's boyfriend, just like started rapping out of nowhere. I like that. That was good. This is sort of the precursor to the cemetery scene, but I really liked the dinner conversation between Sarah and Darren, where she's going on a bit of a rant about, he apologizes for bringing up the ex-girlfriend the last time they spoke, which I think needed to be addressed because that really frustrated me the first time. So he's made amends, she goes on about her paranormal ideas and just he makes one line about like, yeah, cool. If this means something to you, cool. Yeah, I can accept that. And just the look on her face that she was being accepted. Something that she was saying was finally being listened to and accepted by someone. It's just a perfect part of the performance that I really felt that moment, that this is a turning point for her. Obviously it wasn't, but
it was turning. She turned.
I thought that was nice.
But Darren as well in that scene was that he handled it so normally. If you're on a first date with someone you really like and they say that, you kind of like, yeah. And he like fishes around for another conspiracy theory. He's kind of like, yeah, I'm happy to talk about this. Is interesting conversation. Yeah. You didn't think it was going to go where it went.
And the last one, like I didn't enjoy, but I thought it was a nice moment where Sarah rocks up at work and Joan's there when she's got no clothes on. And Joan's just able to calm her down and talk to her. For me, it was a touching scene. That was like, it's nice to see that there are people that might not necessarily have a bloodline connection or a outside work connection that actually look out for other people. So I like that moment too.
That was done really well too. The hallucination of her walking out of the shower. Yeah. In her head, she's walking out of the shower and then she kind of wakes up and she's walking into the store. They actually did that really well.
Yeah. Anything that you didn't like?
There's not much. I maybe nitpicking a little bit, but that sort of big hallucination scene that she had near the end when she had that night in the home, for lack of a better term, I think it just lingered for a little bit too long. They make it very clear that it's a hallucination scene or whatever you want to call it, they have her leaving the building whilst she's standing there watching her. So you sort of already in your head, you're like, I don't think she's going anywhere. And I think it just went a little bit too long.
Only thing I've got as well. Like creatively, I thought it was cool, but I just didn't enjoy that last trip. It was just like I think it said went a bit too long, and I guess they did well in bringing back all the characters we'd seen throughout the film and the transformations between the two Darrens and back with the girl who fell off the horse and things like that. And they're all meaningful things, and it looked cool, and it would have been really fun to do all these practical shots, but as a viewing experience, it just didn't really add anything to the narrative.
Yep, I think so too.
Themes, ideas. We've sort of touched on a few of these already, and I think they're pretty clear in what they're talking about. But fill us in.
Yeah, like mental illness is a huge one in this, and in this case, it's kind of specifically like a paranoid schizophrenia type illness. But I think the thing that stood out for me so much was the lack of support around it. When she's talking to this guy at the hospital or wherever she was, and he's like, oh, you get to go home today. First thing in my head, I'm like, oh, geez, like she's not ready to go home. And then she says, she comes up with these, absurd theories like, hey, it's okay now because I saw this girl. I know that this is happening. I know all this. I know that. So and like she's talking like a really crazy person. And for him to just be like, yeah, well, I'm going to sign your papers and off you trot anyway. She's not in a position to go out and live her life. And I think that really stands out as like the catalyst of the lack of support for mental health. There's so many other examples throughout the film, which we've kind of already touched on. But I think if this movie is saying nothing else, and it's saying a lot, but if it's saying nothing else, this is the big thing to take out of it is how difficult it is to support someone who's going through a mental illness, but B, how much people just neglect it, and whether that's a societal thing or it's,
to support and help. Yeah.
So I think that was strong.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the idea too that the warped perception or the inability to understand the world at times, like what's real and what isn't, that can stem from the mental illness, like what, and in this instance here, a lot of this mental illness possibly can be biological from the grandmother, but also the trauma that we hear in the backstory about Sarah of what she's gone through, like the falling from the horse and her being okay, whereas the other girl was like sort of disabled after it, the guilt that she'd feel from that, her dad leaving when she was 16, her mum taking her own life, like all these things that build up that just create instability in a world, definitely lead to things that can happen like this.
Yeah, and you know what? It also comes down to, as I said, she seems somewhat happy in her own little bubble doing her own little thing, but it's that public perception and social norms she's supposed to live by that puts pressure on her. She feels obliged to go out for her birthday with friends, even though she doesn't have anyone to go out with. And, she feels obliged to, have a drink and have a smoke because that's what they're doing, when that kind of is the thing that pushes her over the edge. But she just feels like she has to, and people don't accept her if she's not.
Yeah. How awkward is that? But like to the Zumba instructor, oh, like, what are you doing tonight? I am probably going out. Okay, cool.
It was tough watch. I know. I'm glad she didn't go further though.
Yeah. All right. What did you take away from this one?
Horse Girl just feels like this juicy film. I keep thinking about it. I keep reading about it. I'm trying to put these pieces together, and I'm hopefully going to continue to get more out of it through this conversation. And I think if you watched it again, which I would like to do, I think you'll see things differently and pick up on things that once you've sort of formed your own ideas after watching it a first time, you'll see a lot more to either support it or to talk against one thing that you might have thought.
Completely agree. I think it definitely deserves a rewatch. I think it's a pretty daring film too. Without Netflix and the Duplass brothers on board, I can't imagine many studios backing this and be like, yeah, we're going to get it as a release either. So
that's a really good point.
This is a film that feels like a Netflix film. It's nice at a stage, but it's sort of a daring film.
I like that. Good call.
IMDb. Did you go on to check anyone out?
I did. It was a good one too. The girl who plays in the cast list, she's known as Jane Doe. So it's the girl who she keeps seeing in her dreams with the alien ship, and then she sees her in the room. The actress's name is Dylan Galula, but she's in Cooper Raif's Shithouse, which I watched very recently. And yeah, one of those things that you don't know the face that well, but when you've watched it within the last few months, you're like, oh, that's so satisfying that now I know who you are.
I was just proud of myself. I didn't look this one up because the Brian, Nikki's boyfriend, like as soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, love that guy. Because he was Rock Hudson in that Hollywood Netflix TV show. It was like last year or the year before, and I loved his performance in that. So straight away I knew him. But I did look up two characters from the fictional show, that Purgatory show that was on the TV.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm like, they're in like Bones or something. And I looked it up, and they specifically casted people that have been in all those different types of crime shows. So it's a really clever sort of thing. So the Agatha Kane was played by a chick called Robin Tunney, and she was in The Mentalist for 7 years. And the Darren guy was played by Matthew Gray Gubler, who was in Criminal Minds for 15 years. So they're all characters that have been in crime investigation sort of shows. Really cool touch. Just to
that is cool.
Yeah,
and they both were a bit familiar. You're right.
Yeah, I'm like they're in like Bones or something like that. But I got that wrong. But they were in some other things. All right. Any questions that you want to ask?
There is, and I'm glad we haven't quite talked about this. I want to know, do you think there was plausibility around the whole alien time travel concept?
I like based on reading like what the director said. Yeah, he put that in there. It's in there. All that sort of stuff. For me personally, watching the movie, no. Me personally, at the end of the film, I wasn't like she's being abducted by aliens. I think my interpretation, and like obviously anyone can take your own interpretation to it. I think there's elements of it in there, but I can still come up with reasons for everything as to how it all fit in with her mental illness as well.
See, I was watching the film, obviously waiting for the alien stuff to be debunked. Like, I'm like the mental illness side of things and the blurring of reality. It's a really fun thing to play with. So when I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, I think she's having a lot of issues with her mental illness and there's probably paranoid schizophrenia. But the film finishes, and I'm like, so why are there still these massive scratches on the wall and her car, which don't seem human made? Why? This is the kicker for me. When she's walking down the street with a horse in that first scene, and then it's in one of the last scenes, but she's in the store with Joan because she's at the very first scene, she's in the store and the horse walks past, but then she's there, and I'm like, how is she in two places at once? And then these two are a bit easier to debunk, but at the end you sort of see the horse just sitting there just eating the shrubs or whatever, and she's not there. Like, I guess you could pan and maybe she was going to be there laying on the ground, but she's not there. And then obviously the bruises on her with the aliens. We never really got better. I mean, she's sleepwalking or whatever, so you can. But there was enough there for me to be like, this is all well and good that we're going through mental health stuff, but I'm not convinced that there's not an alien time travel thing going on. And I think I got to a point where I'm like, I'm okay with both of these things being a thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're both there. You can take either way, but like I love sci-fi. I really like sci-fi. And maybe I need more of a sci-fi thing to get the whole alien thing, because that whole idea of, Sarah is her grandmother, and it's her traveling back in time to get where she is. That opening scene where Joan's seeing Sarah on the horse while Sarah's standing next to her. That's the only shot that isn't from Sarah's point of view, I think, in the film. And she's out the front, but we've got to remember she's an unreliable narrator. This whole film, like the first half of the film, we don't really get a lot of the insight into what she's been struggling with. So we can't take all of that for granted either. So to me, the scratches on the wall and in the car are her having massive fits. Like she wakes up on the floor.
It is there. It is there. It goes both ways.
Yeah,
which is good, right? That's clever filmmaking.
Yeah, I like the idea too at the end. Like, obviously, she takes the horse Willow and she lies down in the opening. It's like, yeah, I'm ready to be taken by the aliens. But also, to me, it's like that idea. She's ready to give into it all. She's ready to be done with the struggles that she's facing. More so than bright lights. People see bright lights all the time, but they're both there. They're both there.
Yeah, I agree.
So Sarah's mum at the cemetery, the grave. That was her mum's grave, not her grandmother's.
Her mum's, correct.
Yeah, her mum's grave. So her ex-partner had so much cash that she was flashing around. Why didn't she have a gravestone? It's like an unmarked grave.
I mean, it's not that uncommon.
Maybe it's not her mother's gravestone.
Interesting. You've really thought about that one. I didn't.
Well, because the other way,
blink an eye.
if she digs it up and proves the DNA is not necessarily going to match, or it'll match in a reverse order because it'll say that she's the mother of the mother that's in the ground. So that whole
Well,
DNA.
I still don't understand.
Yes,
Her
yeah.
DNA would still exist.
It'd exist,
Like
yeah.
her not getting the DNA back is like, well, her grandma's still going to have DNA. Like you'd get something back.
But it'd come back and say she's the mother of her mother.
I don't think the DNA comes back that clean. I think it's, got your ancestral. I don't think it says, hey, by the way, Jesse, your grandfather is this person, or this person, and this person, this person.
But they do,
I think it
don't
just
they? That's how they
tracks
do
your roots.
the trees, yeah. So because
maybe
then
they
she wouldn't
do.
have the DNA
I don't know
of
for
her
sure.
partner. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a scientist either, so that's
yeah. I don't know.
All right, we are ready to wrap this one up with our final thoughts and a rating out of 5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, no surprise now, but I think I like this more than the general movie loving population enjoyed it. I think the ability to tell a story around mental illness and crippling mental illness, and to tie into what appears this bizarre hallucination from that illness, but then to give you enough evidence that it could actually be true, is a real feat. I think it's a movie at the end of the day, and why not have fun with both sides of the story? Why can't alien invasions and time travel be real? I think this movie is really ambitious, and I think it works. It's I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Lovely. Yeah, I sort of, not whacking people, but I think people that sort of maybe claim that this film is confusing or doesn't make sense possibly missed the whole point. I think life is confusing for those that are struggling with mental illness, and this movie made me feel like I was part of her world. So that confusion was meaningful. I deeply felt sorry for her. I just wanted to reach through the screen to help and be like, I'm here to help. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. That I get both sides. I think, whether it's an alien movie, whether it's whatever, whether it's a mental illness, whether it's both, doesn't really matter because it gives you something to think about. So giving it 3.5 as well. On the same page. It's been a while, I reckon.
Has been, yeah.
It's good to see. We're on socials, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Question for you: can you ride a horse?
Can I ride a horse? I have ridden a horse. Does that count?
Sure. Sure.
I wouldn't feel comfortable jumping on one today, but I've done it before.
Yeah, I did it once in primary school and fell off and never got back on again.
Oh boy!
Nah.
Did you hurt yourself?
No, it wasn't too bad. I was more traumatized. So not a fan of horses.
That's why you're not a horse boy.
Exactly. I'm not a horse boy. We're back next week. I'm not very, very excited about this one at all. I think you might be. I'm not. But we've got the 2020 teen romantic comedy with all the boys. P.S. I still love you.
Yep.
It's directed by Michael Fimonari. It stars Alana Condor, Noah Centineo, Jordan Fisher, and Anna Cathcart. So the sequel to the film that we did quite a while ago now.
Yep, I've seen this one. I did watch it during lockdown. Yeah, that's right. I did see it was coming up.
Yeah, so I think there's a third later on at some stage too.
I haven't seen the third one. So
when we're 75 watching a teen movie, we'll discuss it.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
It's been good. It's good to chat about a movie like this. So
I needed it.
And I'll see you next week.
See you then, mate.